My friends, every time you eat, your meal is doing one of two things to your kidneys. It is either adding to the inflammation that damages them, or it is reducing it. And a 2023 study of 12,090 adults over 50 found something that changes how we should think about every single meal you make. The relationship between how inflammatory your diet is and how severe your kidney disease is linear. That means there is no threshold you have to cross. There is no perfect score you have to reach. Every single step in the right direction produces a measurable benefit to your kidney function, and every step in the wrong direction adds to the damage, meal by meal. Most people managing kidney disease have been given one type of dietary guidance: a list of foods to limit phosphorus, potassium, sodium, protein, a list of numbers to track. And that guidance is important. Those restrictions exist for real reasons, and your doctor and dietitian know your specific situation. But there is a second conversation one that is happening in research labs right now and has not yet reached most kidney patients. Not what to restrict, what to add. A 2026 study published in PLOS 1 following 154,070 adults in the UK Biobank found that pro-inflammatory dietary patterns were significantly associated with incident CKD. A 2025 study published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that a pro-inflammatory diet was associated with a higher risk of incident kidney failure in women. And a 2024 review in the American Journal of Kidney Diseases found that adherence to a Mediterranean-style anti-inflammatory diet is associated with lower CKD progression risk. Today, I am going to show you what this pattern actually looks like, not as a Mediterranean vacation fantasy, but as a daily eating framework a senior over 60 can actually build and sustain. I am going to explain why inflammation is at the center of kidney decline. And I am going to give you the foundations and habits that make this real in your kitchen. Stay with me, because toward the end of this video, I am going to show you the single most pro-inflammatory food most seniors are eating every day that their kidney diet plan has been entirely silent about. It is not on the standard restriction list, but the research links it to significantly higher inflammatory burden in the kidneys specifically. Let me start with the question that frames this entire video. Why does inflammation drive kidney decline specifically? Most people understand inflammation in the context of pain or injury, a swollen ankle, a sore throat. That kind of inflammation is acute. It arrives, does its job, and resolves. But the inflammation involved in kidney decline is fundamentally different. It is chronic, low grade, invisible, and it operates through a mechanism that is directly destructive to the kidney's filtering structures. Here is how it works. The glomeruli, the tiny filtering units inside each kidney, are surrounded by delicate capillary walls. These walls are designed to allow waste products through while keeping useful proteins in the bloodstream. Chronic low-grade inflammation damages those capillary walls. It causes them to become more permeable, which is why protein begins appearing in the urine of people with CKD, a condition called proteinuria. It promotes the accumulation of scar tissue within the kidney, a process called fibrosis. And it accelerates the decline of GFR by progressively reducing the number of functional glomeruli available to filter blood. This is what makes the anti-inflammatory dietary pattern so significant. It does not just avoid harm. It actively reduces the inflammatory burden on the glomerular capillaries, giving the kidney's filtering structures a better environment in which to survive and, in some cases, partially recover. Now, what does this pattern actually look like? because anti-inflammatory diet is one of the most overused phrases in health content, and most people have no idea what it means in practice. Let me give you the precise version specifically adapted for seniors managing kidney health. 3 foundations. Foundation 1: plants at every meal. Not a plant-based diet in the strict sense, but a commitment to including at least one plant food, a vegetable, a legume, a fruit, or a whole grain at every meal, every day. The research is clear that plant foods are the primary drivers of the diet's anti-inflammatory effect. They deliver fiber, polyphenols, antioxidant vitamins, and magnesium, all of which have been independently linked to lower systemic inflammation. For kidney health specifically, choose lower potassium and lower phosphorus plant foods as your primary options. Berries, apples, cabbage, cauliflower, bell peppers, and white rice are all anti-inflammatory plant foods that are also kidney friendly. Higher potassium options like bananas, tomatoes, and potatoes are not eliminated, but they should not be the primary plant food at every meal if you are managing potassium levels. Foundation 2: omega 3 fatty acids 2 to 3 times per week. Omega 3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DA found in fatty fish, are the most well documented dietary anti inflammatory compounds available. They directly inhibit the production of pro inflammatory prostaglandins and cytokines, the molecular signals that damage glomerular capillary walls. Salmon, sardines, mackerel, and cod are all kidney friendly sources. Aim for 2 to 3 servings per week, each approximately 2 to 3 ounces. For kidney patients managing phosphorus, wild-caught fish generally has lower bioavailable phosphorus than farmed fish because phosphorus in natural fish tissue is organically bound and absorbed less efficiently than the inorganic phosphorus used in processed or farmed fish feed. Foundation 3: the 2 cooking principles: olive oil in, seed oils, and ultra-processed foods out. Extra virgin olive oil contains oleocanthal, a polyphenol compound that has been shown in laboratory studies to inhibit the same inflammatory enzymes targeted by ibuprofen through a similar mechanism. A 2024 review from the American Journal of Kidney Diseases specifically highlighted olive oil as one of the Mediterranean diet components with the strongest evidence for reducing uremic toxin production and inflammatory markers in CKD patients. Replace butter, margarine, and vegetable seed oils with extra virgin olive oil as your primary cooking fat. And on the other side of the same principle, remove ultra-processed foods, packaged snacks, processed meats, sweetened beverages, flavored dairy products. The Dietary Inflammatory Index research consistently finds that these foods, high in refined carbohydrates, trans fats, and advanced glycation end products formed during industrial processing, are the strongest pro-inflammatory contributors to CKD outcomes. Removing them does more to reduce your dietary inflammatory burden than adding any individual anti-inflammatory food. Now, 3 daily habits that turn these foundations into a routine. Not 3 foods, 3 patterns you repeat until they require no thought. Habit 1: replace 1 processed food per week until it is gone. Not all at once. 1 per week. The packaged crackers replaced by a small handful of walnuts. The flavored yogurt replaced by plain Greek yogurt with a few berries. The processed deli meat replaced by canned sardines or cooked chicken. The research shows the benefit is proportional. Each unit reduction in pro-inflammatory eating is associated with better kidney outcomes. You do not have to reach perfection. Every swap moves your dietary inflammatory score in the right direction. Habit 2, use herbs and spices instead of salt as your primary flavor tool. Turmeric, ginger, garlic, rosemary, and oregano all contain polyphenol compounds with documented anti-inflammatory activity. A 2024 umbrella review covering 225 primary studies across 30 systematic reviews identified herbs and spices as one of the dietary components most consistently associated with reduced inflammatory biomarkers. For kidney health, this habit does double work. It replaces sodium while simultaneously adding anti inflammatory phytochemicals. Half a teaspoon of turmeric in scrambled eggs, fresh garlic in olive oil over steamed vegetables, dried rosemary on white fish. Habit 3, eat berries at least 4 times per week. Berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, cranberries are among the lowest potassium, lowest phosphorus fruits available. They are also among the most densely concentrated sources of anthocyanins, the dark pigment compounds that reduce oxidative stress and inflammatory signaling in kidney tissue specifically. A 2023 review in the Journal of Renal Nutrition found that higher anthocyanin intake was associated with slower GFR decline in CKD patients. Half a cup of mixed berries 4 times per week in yogurt, in oatmeal alone as a snack. Low in everything kidneys struggle with, high in everything kidneys benefit from. Now, the warning I promised you at the beginning. The single most pro-inflammatory food in the average senior's diet that standard kidney restriction lists almost never mention. Ultra-processed grain products eaten daily, specifically white bread, packaged crackers, instant noodles, and processed breakfast cereals. These foods sit in a nutritional blind spot for many kidney patients. They are low in potassium, they are low in phosphorus, they are low in protein. By the metrics of the standard renal diet restriction list, they appear benign or even safe. But the Dietary Inflammatory Index research reveals something the standard renal restriction framework was never designed to measure. Ultra-processed grain products are among the highest scorers on the pro-inflammatory index because of their refined carbohydrate content, their glycemic load, and the advanced glycation end products introduced during industrial processing. They drive systemic inflammation through the same pathways that damage glomerular walls, even though they do not appear on the phosphorus or potassium warning list. A 2024 Frontiers in Nutrition study analyzing the association between dietary inflammatory index and CKD in middle-aged and elderly populations identified refined grain intake as one of the dietary factors most strongly associated with adverse CKD outcomes in their analysis of the NAINS data, not potassium, not phosphorus. Refined grains eaten habitually and in quantity. This does not mean you can never eat bread. It means that if you are eating packaged crackers, white bread, or processed breakfast cereal every day and your kidney diet plan has never flagged this, it is worth discussing with your doctor or renal dietitian. Because the inflammatory cost of that daily habit may be working against every other protective effort you are making. Let me bring everything together. Kidney decline is not only driven by phosphorus accumulation and potassium overload, it is also driven by chronic low-grade inflammation that damages glomerular capillary walls, promotes fibrosis, and progressively reduces the functional kidney tissue available to filter your blood. The anti-inflammatory dietary pattern plants at every meal. Omega-3 rich fish 2 to 3 times per week, olive oil in place of seed oils, and the removal of ultra-processed foods has now been associated with slower CKD progression across multiple large studies in multiple populations. It does not replace your renal diet restrictions. It works alongside them, addressing the inflammatory pathway to kidney damage that the restriction protocol was not designed to address. 3 habits to start this week. Remove one processed food and replace it with a whole food equivalent. Add herbs and spices in place of salt. Eat berries 4 times this week. You have been protecting your kidneys by taking things away. Now, for the first time, you can protect them by adding something back. My friends, leave me a comment right now. Tell me, do you eat berries regularly? Just a yes or no. I read every single comment. Now, before I go, I want to leave you with something that connects to the pattern we built today. We talked about omega-3 fatty acids as one of the foundations of the anti-inflammatory pattern. And we talked about fish as the primary source. But there is one specific way that most seniors prepare fish, a cooking method that most people would describe as healthy, that actually generates AGEs at levels that partially negate the anti-inflammatory benefit of the omega-3s in that same fish. The method creates the inflammatory compound in the same pan that contains the anti-inflammatory compound. Next video, I'm going to show you the cooking method that preserves omega-3s and eliminates age formation simultaneously. Same fish, different pan, completely different outcome for your kidneys. Make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on. I will see you there. Until then, my friends, take care of your body. Start this week. Good night and God bless.